Morning, everybody. Morning, Jill. Morning, Catherine. And I think Rand's there. Yes. Good morning. And Kevin. So let's do a little Tai Chi, and then I want to finish up the discussion that we started just at the end yesterday. First four moves. Catherine, why don't you lead us twice?
Okay.
Could you adjust your camera down a little bit so we can see your feet too? Catherine, say something so the camera goes on you.
Bonsoir.
Stop. Stop, Catherine. Watch. Watch. I'm going to start over again in a minute. The last move. Watch this hand. Twist. That's why it's cupping your Dan Chen. Yeah. You're holding somebody's hand. But not in a friendly way. All right? You've got hold of somebody's hand and you twist their arm. Not with your arm, but with your Dan Chen. All right? Watch this. All right? Watch this. Don't watch this. The whole thing in here spirals. And what you do when you do a joint lock is when you touch someone, you feel the structure of their bones and or their fascia, depending on what your tradition is. Right? And what you do is, rather than fight their muscles, what you do is go up their bones. All right? So this represents the bones within a forearm. All right, so all the way from the tip of the fingers up to the elbow. So the bones move, but not that much. The forearm bones move a little bit, but not that much. Where muscles are much more flexible, bones are not. All right? So you grab the bone and you go up the bone from this end to this end, up. How do you do it? Well, the same way you do it with a stick, actually. All right? It's pretty simple. You move your intention up, and then you learn to follow your intention with your physical and energetic body. Now, it doesn't stop there. You go up, you lock the elbow. Then you go up the upper arm and you lock the shoulder. And then you go down the spine and the body and then you lock into the Dan Chin. But that's not what I want to talk about right now. What I want to talk about right now is why we assume the shapes that we do. All right? One. And then this is a counter spiral. So you have one body spiral. The whole body is spiraling up this guy's arm. The spiral doesn't stop with you. The spiral, you learn to bring the spiral into the other guy. And now I'm going to do a counter spiral right at his elbow, right? Not below the elbow, really, actually, just slightly above the elbow. So one is twisting this way, one is twisting that way. And what it does is it locks the arm up. It's very similar to wringing out a dish rag, right? One side goes this way, the other side goes that way. Yeah, Kevin.
Which arm do you have of your opponent?
If I'm using my left to do this, then that's going to be his left arm. All right? Because he's standing just opposite. So his right's going to be on this side, his left's going to be on this side.
Okay, now I can picture it.
um, Maybe the way to think about it is not so much which side, but just remember that you're doing opposite sides. So I'm doing his opposite side. Well, that turns out to be his left side too. But since we're standing in mirror images, it's going to look like his opposite side. And if I'm doing it on this side, then it would be his right side. The point of this is when you do this move, all right, you start here, and as you go across, you lower to here. Well, that's just imitating. The guy swung in here, you've grabbed him, and now you're going to use your own weight to bring him down and in. All right? That's why your hand is cupped underneath here. It's not just this, guys. It's not just down here like this. It's like this. Right? What I'm suggesting is a twist, is a spiral. Right? Put your hand on your Dan Chin like this. Right? Now, you're going to turn the hand to here, but there's two ways to do that. One way is from the outside in. All right? I'm just going to stand here and turn my hand. All right? Nothing's happening in here. I'm just turning my hand. That's what almost everybody would do, but that's not what you do in Tai Chi. If I want to turn my hand in Tai Chi, then I have to engage this. Watch. So it's not my hand and my arm doing it. It's my whole body doing it. So when you do this move in particular, watch down here. the point is not to think about catching somebody's arm and twisting their arm. That's yeah, that's what you're doing in the martial sense. But what I want you to get is the insides. That's what's valuable. All right? If you just do it on the outside, it's a very limited value. All right? It's when you engage the inside that you can really do something with it. Okay, so we didn't get too far with doing a lot of these exercises, but it's a perfect segue into what I wanted to say today to finish up that conversation from yesterday. Do you all know where the term Tai Chi comes from? This martial art has existed from about the 1660s. It was founded by a Chen family member who was a general in the Ming armies. So armies were associated with different geographic areas, and he was a general in a Ming army in Hunan province. Well, when the Ming dynasty ended and the Qing dynasty started, he was out of a job. So he went home. And guess where his home was? Because he was a Chen family member. It was a tiny little agricultural village called Chenjiagao, which means literally Chen family irrigation ditch. They were farmers. And in the Yellow River Valley, and partly to control flooding and partly to irrigate the land, the Ming dynasty had built all these irrigation canals everywhere. And the irrigation canal for their tiny little community, they were named after that. And we just call it Chen Village now, because it still exists. And the Chen family's still there, and they still do Tai Chi. But it wasn't called Tai Chi back then. What he did is he brought all his experience with the Chinese martial arts into his retirement. And he started, with something to do, he started developing a martial art and teaching the young people in his community. And that tradition has gone on. It's still very strong in Chen Village. There's probably about 2,000 people in Chen Village now, and probably about 1,500 of them do Tai Chi. All right? Tai Chi, the name Tai Chi did not get applied to that martial art, which was just Kung Fu, Chen style Kung Fu, or Chen Kung Fu, until the late 19th century, maybe even the beginning of the 20th century. They started calling it Tai Chi. Where did the name Tai Chi come from, and why did they apply it? The word Tai Chi is a very old word in Taoist philosophy. It has something to do with their view of how the world is constructed and how nature works. Tai Chi is a very important part of that. So in the Taoist tradition, you've all seen that symbol that contains yang and yin, like two fish, right? Defining each other. That's called the Taiji Du, the Tai Chi diagram. That's what Tai Chi is, not the martial art. The martial art was named after that because that particular way of doing things really looked at how complementary opposites, yin and yang, work together, and how you could use that point of view, to create a martial art. Now, it's not the only martial art in China that does that, but they really focused on that. One aspect of that is what we were talking about yesterday, full and empty. Right? Yin and yang, full and empty. Oh, okay. But I want you to think about something. I cleaned the board off because I'm gonna put a little message up here or a little something drawing up here. In the West, for the past couple of thousand years, and it doesn't matter whether you're Christian, Jewish, or Muslim, they all work along the same way. They all work on this dyad. Right? Good and evil. There's the good God, right? There's the good God, there's the evil devil. There are the good people, there are the bad people. There are good things, there are bad things. If you do good things, you're going to get rewarded, and if you do bad things, you're going to get punished, right? That's the way the West works. What's the problem with that? Sort of on two levels. One problem is that is a recipe for eternal warfare. Because you must always be fighting the evil in yourself, in the world, in the other political party. Well, you want a perfect example of that? Look at our politics in the United States right now. The truth is there's good on both sides and there's bad on both sides. But both sides think the other side is the evil side. And so right now we're in a civil war. It's just a cold war, not a hot war. The Chinese and the Taoists and the Buddhists work on a different way of looking at things. And the Taoist way in particular is very, very sophisticated. They don't see things in the world as being diametrically opposed to each other. Right? It's just their view of nature. In their view of nature, things come in opposites, but they're complementary opposites. If you have a coin and you're going to flip a coin, you have opposites, heads and tails, but they're both on the same coin. It's the same thing. On the surface, it looks like they're diametrically opposed, but underneath, if you see through just the surface, you realize, oh, they're actually the same thing. Yin and yang originally meant the sunny and shady sides of a mountain. How do you get? You can't have a shady side unless you've got a sunny side. If you have a sunny side, you're going to get a shady side. It's just the way the world works. All right? Right? I'm tall, right? But if I'm tall, that must mean there are other people that are short. And there are probably people taller than me, and then I would be short. It's all relative. The problem with dividing the world up into good and evil is you end up making both of them absolutes. Absolute good, absolute evil. And now you have eternal warfare. Right? When you look at it this way and you realize Well, tall and short. All right. Fat, all right? Fat and skinny. Old and young. Life and death. Sunny and shady. Expansion and contraction. Full and empty. Fast and slow. All those terms relate to each other. They're actually two sides to the same coin. In my humble opinion, this is much closer to the way the real world works. It's much closer to how nature works. All right? So I wanted to bring that up because this study of Tai Chi and Qigong is actually a study of the original meaning of the word. It's actually pronounced Taiji. Taiji in China, right? Is a study of this idea. Where do yin and yang come from? Yin and yang come from Tai Chi. Tai Chi is the whole circle. Yin and yang are born from Tai Chi. Tai Chi is born from Wu Chi. The actual literal translation of Tai Chi is supreme ultimate. Right? What it means is it's the supreme rule. This is the way the world works. Right? Is through the principle of Taiji. What does Wu Ji means? Wu Ji means beyond limits. Right? It's beyond Tai Chi. Right? Wu Ji is the mother of Taiji, and Taiji is the mother of yin and yang, and yin and yang is the mother, is the mother of the 10,000 things, everything in the world. Questions? Now you understand Taoist metaphysics.
And there's really only 10,000 things?
Well, if you, I tell you what, why don't you start counting? We'll get back to you next week and see how far you've gotten.
All right.
And how does this relate to the trigrams?
Well, do you know what a Cantor set is in set theory? Okay. The trigrams are made up of, each is made up of 3 lines. The lines are either full or they're empty. All right, so that's a good question, Kevin. A full line is just drawn on the paper as a single line. An empty line, you make a little line, you make a break, and you make another little line, right? So they look like this, all right? That's a full line. That's an empty line, right? I think you guys can see that, right? A trigram is just when you get some combination of 3. So why do you get a combination of 3? It actually has to do with base 2 mathematics. All right, I'm serious. Digital computers work on exactly the same system that gave rise to the trigrams, right? So in fact, the trigrams are made from the first 64 numbers, or actually the hexagrams are made from the first 64 numbers in a base 2 series. So the old guys doing the I Ching invented all that long before we invented computers. All right? Okay, so why am I telling you all this stuff? So that you understand that this is a very deep study. It literally goes into the heart of Taoism. In a lot of ways, yin and yang are the heart of Taoism. It's their way of understanding how the world works. Right? The 10,000 things is a poetic metaphor for the world. There's 10,000 things in the world. Everything in the world is composed of yin and yang. Yin and yang comes from Taiji. Taiji comes from Wuji. That's how they see the world working. Right? That same system you can find using different words in almost every indigenous tradition in the world, including originally the Western traditions too. Right? So when we talk about full and empty, we're standing on the shoulders of these giants like Lao Tzu and Shuangzi, who developed this way of looking at the world and put it down in written form, very simple written form, but written form. The problem with modern people, and by modern people I mean in the last 8,000 years or so, is we've gotten unbalanced. Our culture today is radically unbalanced. Our culture is a radically yang culture. Right? It's yang, which means runaway yang. Normally in nature balances things out. Yeah, they may get a little unbalanced, but then nature balances them back out. But human beings are smart, right? So we've managed to evade nature for a long, long time, and we've created a culture which is so unbalanced that it's literally unbalancing the world around us, the environmental world around us. And eventually nature is going to have her say. As they say, nature bats last, right? But Tai Chi and Qigong are a way of understanding natural balance inside your own body. It's fine to think about all these things. It's a whole nother thing to feel them in your body. One of the results of modern civilization, let's say urban civilization, and the first city started, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 years ago, is you get separated from nature. And what happens is civilization does not care about your mental or physical health. What it cares about is that you can use tools, you can use hammers, you can use screwdrivers, you can use computers, you can drive cars and earth-moving machines, you can go to the Mars and the moon. You can do all these things, and all those things are yang things, and they all take you out to the periphery of your body. And as a result, because it's unbalanced, not because being on the periphery of your body is bad or using a tool is bad, it has to do with balance. When everything is always going out, it's like you're always exhaling and you're never inhaling. And so you end up on the edges of your body, and your central core becomes you vacate your central core. And the center of your body becomes what's called empty. All right? So yeah, it's all full out here, but it's all empty inside. The point of Qigong is to rebalance yourself. It's not, again, that the periphery is bad. It's that the relationship between the inside and the outside is unbalanced. So everything that we do, being associated with the Dan Qian, All right? Every movement you make is from here. All right? If you're just doing Qigong, I'm moving my periphery. I'm going out to the periphery, but I don't go out to the periphery in an unbalanced manner. I go out to the periphery from my center. I don't forget my center and just, go out here to the edges, which is unbalanced. Right? Instead, I'm practicing motion that is balanced. Right? I grow out from the center. You grow out from the center. Right? And then you sink back into the center. And you grow out from the center. And you sink back into the center. And you grow out from the center. And you sink back into the center. And you grow out from the center. And you sink back into the center. Right? Is this clear? Catherine?
It's clear in my brain, but now I have to translate it in my body, which,
Yes, you're right, and it takes some real practice. Just this morning, when we were doing the earlier class, and so we were doing the Hunyuan Qigong series. I noticed a change in what I was doing. Guys, I've been doing this since 1986. Almost every day. And yet I still feel myself changing and getting deeper. So I really felt something happening today that had not happened before. And it was like, oh, okay, all you have to do is do this for 30 years and that'll happen. All right? Somebody asked Master Feng once, Master, you've been doing this now, you're 83 years old, you've been doing this for 60 years. Where are you in the development? And Feng said, I'm a good, solid beginner. Guys, it just keeps going. It's not actually Tai Chi and Qigong that do any of this. It's not that Tai Chi and Qigong have some magic power to do something inside you. This is just all about you. The thing that's changing you is you, because you're paying attention. What Tai Chi and Qigong do is help focus your attention on certain things. So you may notice that rather than running ahead, learning more and more and more and more and more forms, but never actually getting to the point of anything, we don't do that. I torture you guys with lectures like this, hoping that you will think about them in your practices at home. All right? That there are other formats through which you can learn the same thing. But this is a really good format for learning this. It's really, really good. And it's been road tested for 350 years by you guys I believe you guys are the 21st generation. I'm 20th. You guys are 21st. All right. So 21 generations of people have been working on this. And honestly, in every generation, there are advances in understanding. But to make those advances, you also have to understand everything that's happened up to the time that you get here. So you have a little work to do in gathering that information. I mean, you don't have to know everything and every date. That's not it, but just a feel for the big things that have been discovered here. Questions? Kevin?
Not really a question, but sort of a digression. There's a 1982 movie called Koyaanisqatsi.
Yes.
It means life out of balance. And if
Yes.
you want a visual of what Malcolm's been talking about, that's a movie to watch.
You know, um, it, all of us, none of us are, I don't believe anybody here is a billionaire. Would all the billionaires please raise their hands? Okay, no billionaires here. There's anybody royalty, anybody who's a member of a royal family, raise your hand. Okay, so there's nobody who's fighting those problems, right?
My grandmother was a baroness.
Oh, well, you're getting close, right? Um, we're just regular people. Thank God, right? We're just regular people. And you grow up in this culture, and it's a wonderful culture in many ways. I mean, you can go on and turn the tap and get hot water. You can, in the morning when it's cold in the middle of winter, you can get up and turn the heat on, etc., etc. You think about it. I was thinking about it last night. What was the first generation of human beings that got central heating? It was in the United States. It was like 2 generations ago, maybe 3 generations ago.
Well,
Before that, huh?
the Romans had it, but we forgot.
Well, they had those who were very wealthy had some central heating, all right, floor heating, but not many. All right? What I mean is our civilization is very wonderful in a lot of ways, but we don't realize the price that we all pay for this. The Midwest is a very nice place, but a lot of people who grow up and live in the Midwest don't realize what it costs them to live in the Midwest. Where at least in my culture that I grew up in, people don't hug each other, etc., etc., etc. Nobody sings. Well, it's not as bad now, but it was kind of like that. There's a culture that does things to you because you grow up in it, and it does things to your mind, it does things to your spirit, it does things to your body. And when you grow up in a culture where half the universe is evil and half the universe is good and they're always doing this, well, then guess what happens inside yourself? Yeah. The yin and yang way of looking at things, it's not that there's not evil in the world. It's just that it's relative, not absolute. We'll finish with this story. I watched a little interview from 1961 between some British guy from the BBC and J.R.R. Tolkien, who's the guy who wrote the Lord of the Rings. And the guy from the BBC asked him, "Now, why did you make Sauron this epitome of absolute evil?" And Tolkien sat there for a moment and he thought, and he said, "I don't believe in absolute evil. I believe in absolute good. I don't believe in absolute evil." What Tolkien was really saying is really profound. To make evil in the form of Satan or Sauron or any of these guys absolute puts them on a par with the absolute, which in the Christian tradition is God. Now you've absolutely reinforced this idea. Boom, boom, boom. When you say evil is not absolute, just the good God is absolute, then the universe has a different way. You have a different view of the universe. And that's what happened in the book and in the movies. All right? The good guy, Frodo, couldn't accomplish the quest. It was the bad guy, Gollum, who accomplished the quest. Even though he didn't mean to, he still did. All right? Okay, guys, that's more than enough, I'm sure. All right, have yourselves a good day. We'll see you next week.